Good morning, I'm Maddie Jansen, and this is the podcast of 17 News at Sunrise. It's everything you need to know to start your day in about 15 minutes.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. The former boyfriend of one of the missing Bakersfield Three is behind bars this morning after a police chase ended in the Kern River. The charges he faces and whether or not his arrest has anything to do with the disappearance of Bailey Despot.
It's happened again. Yet another young baseball fan hurt after being hit by a foul ball. Reaction from the team this morning.
And you may feel a little pain at the pump. Why your summer getaway may be to blame for a rise in gas prices on this Tuesday, July 16th. Good morning. Glad you're joining us this morning. Tap the Mills in for Maddie Jensen alongside Alex Fisher. Kevin's back in studio.
Isn't life a pain at the pump?
Always.
Has it ever changed?
No.
I go out of the state, or and I look at the prices. I'm like, oh, that's just California, and kind of used to it, right?
It was unbelievable. I was in downtown LA over the weekend and saw $4.69.
Yeah, and then you go places on the East Coast and it's $2.30 a gallon.
But it's interesting too because for example, when I was in other parts like in Agora Hills, I was actually paying less. I was paying like $3.30, I think.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting to see the variations in gas prices.
Yeah, that's a story in itself.
Cheaper in other areas than would be here.
Yeah. How do you dial in the prices?
Yeah.
Well, it was a good trip. Glad to be back, and it was hot in Paso. It's been warm here, but we're going to try to keep it below 100 here as we go throughout the next several days. Yesterday, it was close. Our high was 99 degrees. The record yesterday was set back in 1930 on that date of 114 degrees. Right now, we sit at 74 with a north wind at 7. And as we take a look at the day here, starting out in the 70s, 89 by noon. By 3 o'clock, we'll be right near 96, so trimming things back a little bit today. 63 in Tehachapi right now. You have a westerly wind at 8. And as we take a look at the day, we will warm up this afternoon into the 80s. By 3 o'clock, look for that westerly wind right around 15.
Well, new information this morning about a story we first brought to you as breaking news last night. It involves the pursuit of a kidnapping suspect that ended in the Kern River, a suspect who has a connection to two of the so-called Bakersfield Three. 17's Kern was on the scene and joins us with more.
You may remember the name Matthew Queen in relation to the Bakersfield Three. He was dating Bailey Despot at the time she went missing in April of last year. He has never officially been a suspect in her disappearance, and investigators won't say whether his capture yesterday has any relation to that case.
The standoff was over a 2-hour time period.
It started around 3:30 Monday afternoon. Bakersfield police say they were following up on an ongoing kidnapping investigation on Buck Owens Boulevard. It was near the Bakersfield sign where officers found their suspect, 42-year-old Matthew Queen, and immediately
Matthew Queen fled from officers, and during a short foot pursuit, he entered the water of the riverbed.
A shallow part of the Kern River between Beach Park and Yokutz Park. Police say he sheltered himself between concrete pillars under this bridge for nearly 2 hours.
During the course of officers negotiating with him, he refused to exit the riverbed.
Police say they couldn't safely follow Queen into the water due to the current. U.S. Marshals, the Kern County Sheriff's Office, City and County Fire were all on scene preparing for a possible river rescue. Finally,
he did ultimately surrender, and he exited voluntarily from the riverbed.
While police say he initially mentioned having a weapon,
however, none was located when he was taken into custody.
Taken into custody for obstructing an investigation, according to police. And BPD says the kidnapping victims have been safely located.
I'm Karen Hua, 17 News.
Bakersfield police arrested Queen and booked him on several felony charges early this morning. Those include kidnapping, conspiracy, resisting arrest, as well as weapons violations. Queen is being held on $150,000 bail. He's due in court Thursday afternoon.
Many are wondering if Queen's kidnapping arrest is related to the disappearance of Bailey Despot. Despot was living in Queen's Rosedale home with him and his estranged wife when she disappeared last April. But in an exclusive interview, Despot's mother, Jane Parent, told us investigators say Queen's arrest is not related to her daughter's disappearance. Parent has long questioned Queen's knowledge of what happened to her daughter. She says Queen claims he has no idea what happened to Despot, and if anyone hurt her, he had nothing to do with it. Search warrants obtained by 17 News also connect Queen to missing man Michael Holsenbeek. Warrants said Despot, Holsenbeek, and Queen may have been involved in manufacturing illegal guns. Since Despot vanished, Queen has been very open on social media about his issues with Despot's mother and even tried to seek a restraining order against her, which was later dropped. In December, Despot's friend Sarah Weidemeyer, who moved in with Queen and recently had his child, also sought a restraining order against Jane Parent, claiming she was stalking her and Queen by often hanging up missing person flyers in their neighborhood. The restraining order was denied. Again, while yesterday's arrest is not related to Despot, her mother is still asking for someone to finally tell her what happened to her child.
Every day it's your heart physically hurts. It doesn't hurt like a heart attack. It hurts like it's cracking open. You hear about people dying from broken hearts, and that's what it feels like. It feels like your heart's breaking, and you try to compartmentalize so you can get through the day and you can't think about it. And then if you think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, it's, going to be 15 months on the 25th, and then I'll start, how could it be this long and nobody tell?
If you have any information on the disappearances of Bailey Despot and Michael Holsenbeek, you're asked to call Bakersfield Police at 327-7111. And remember, you can always remain anonymous by calling Secret Witness at 322-4040. There is a reward of up to $10,000 for information about Holsenbeek's disappearance and $16,000 for information on Despot's case.
Former North High School staffer accused of sexual misconduct with several students is set to appear before a judge today. Edwin Rodriguez faces 24 counts for alleged lewd acts with a minor. The district placed him on leave last year, but he and his wife, Josie Rodriguez, resigned from their jobs in May. Rodriguez and North High School are also being sued by families who say their children were ignored when they brought concerns to administrators.
A man sentenced for killing his son more than 10 years ago is arguing for a new sentence. 70-year-old Robert Lee Moberly was in court yesterday as his attorneys set future dates for his petition. Moberly shot his son in 2006 after a counseling session where he became angry over comments his son's wife made. In 2008, a judge sentenced him to 21 years in prison for voluntary manslaughter, but Moberly argues the court didn't consider PTSD or other mental health problems stemming from his time in Vietnam. But the district attorney's office says Moberly offered no evidence of any mental illness and says his PTSD may have resulted from his son's death. The next hearing in the case is set for August 14th.
We're getting a look at another scary moment. During a professional baseball game over the weekend, a foul ball hit a young girl in the head. It happened at a Kansas City Royals game on Sunday. The girl was conscious and able to talk to medical staff. The Royals organization says it will continue to evaluate the safety measures it has in place at Kauffman. There have been a rash of similar injuries already this season. Last month, a foul ball hit a young fan in the head at Dodgers Stadium, and a bat slipped out of a player's hands during a rainy game at Fenway Park. Several clubs have announced plans to extend netting at its ballparks.
Well, it was one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind. 50 years ago today, the historic Apollo 11 mission launched from this platform at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, headed for the moon. Here's a live look right now from Cape Canaveral, Florida. 4 days later, humans landed on the moon for the first time. It was Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins in the lunar module Eagle who landed on the moon's surface at the Sea of Tranquility. Armstrong said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." The Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum is hosting a special presentation of Apollo 50, Go for the Moon, this week, which includes a full-size projection of the Saturn V rocket on the Washington Monument. Later this morning, we'll have a look back at how the mission came to be with one of the men aboard the capsule.
Welcome back. We're getting a look at the damage this morning after another powerful quake rocked the Ring of Fire, this one in Indonesia once again. The magnitude 5.7 quake hit south of Bali yesterday. This follows a magnitude 7.3 quake that hit the northern part of the island nation on Sunday. The shaking caused people living there, as well as visitors to the tourist island, to briefly rush out of buildings. Despite the panic and damage caused by the timber, so far there aren't any reports of deaths. The National Disaster Agency posted video on its Twitter account showing damage to an ornate entranceway in an area home to high-end resorts in Bali. The USGS says the quake was centered at sea 51 miles southwest of Bali, but didn't have the potential to cause a tsunami.
And the shaking in Indonesia on Sunday was nearly 2 times stronger than the earthquake that hit Ridgecrest last Friday. And the ground is still shaking there. We want to show you a look at the aftershocks as we track them in real time. As you can see, the circles in red are the earthquakes, the aftershocks that we've seen within the last hour. And then the yellow dots that you see are the ones that we've seen within the last 12 hours. So as you can see, it is still very active in that area, although we are seeing less aftershocks now than we did like last week, for example. And you may remember last week, Dr. Lucy Jones, a seismologist we've been relying heavily on for information, posted on Twitter explaining the uptick in stronger magnitude quakes in that area is very normal. And both Indonesia and California suffers frequent earthquakes because both places lie on these seismically active Pacific Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire is an area in the basin of the Pacific Ocean where a large number of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occur. It stretches 25,000 miles from New Zealand through California, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Japan to Alaska, Canada, and the West Coast down to South America. The ring contains 452 volcanoes and several tectonic plates in the Earth's crust. Welcome back. It is 5:24 now, and people across the country are feeling more pain at the pump. In just the last week, gas prices have gone up at least 5 cents in 18 states. The increases are due in part to higher crude oil prices and robust demand as Americans hit the roads for summer vacation. The most of the increase is happening east of the Mississippi, but California is one of 7 states with gas prices of $3 or more. According to AAA, the national average for regular gas is now $2.79 a gallon. That is an 8 cents increase since the beginning of July. California's average is $3.74, and Kern County's average a little higher at $3.81. And according to GasBuddy.com, the lowest price of gas in Bakersfield is $3.35. You can find it at the On The Go food store on River Boulevard in Northeast Bakersfield. And to look up gas prices in your neighborhood, you can head to our website, KGET.com, then click on the traffic link. Amazon's Prime Day came with a lot of deals and a lot of controversy. Demonstrators gathered in the rain outside of the headquarters in Washington yesterday. They're protesting everything from working conditions to working for a living wage and the company's ties to immigration and customs enforcement. Some on Twitter called for an outright boycott of the company during Prime Day, which actually extends through today. In a statement, a spokesperson for Amazon says the company was already providing much of what protesters are demanding. She says the company provides good pay, health care benefits, 20 weeks of parental leave, paid education, and promotional opportunities. Retail experts say while the protests around the country were getting attention, they were unlikely to impact sales numbers.